Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Bob Pompeani manning the controls here tonight. We have a lot to get into, including Major League Baseball, battle between owners and players, not so much on health crisis, but more money. We'll talk about that. We'll also get into the NHL. They seem to have a plan. We'll talk about whether or not it's fair. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers. NFL. Ben Roethlisberger comes out with a video. We'll talk about it with our panel tonight. Rich Walsh, my colleague who joins us over there in Studio B, the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call set, along with Andrew Fillipponi, who joins us up at 93.7 The Fan in Green Tree. So let's get right into this. Andrew, we'll start with you. What was your take? What do you think the message was that Ben Roethlisberger was sending out with that video on social media, which is something he rarely does?
I'm ready to go. That he told everybody that once he was prepared to let it rip like an NFL throw, that he would get rid of the Viking beard, the Game of Thrones beard, and he would look like a normal human being all over again. So that's how I took it. It's May, and Ben Roethlisberger already feels in his mind like he's ready to play. And that's big for him because he usually, Bob, to your point, doesn't use social media as a vehicle to get that point across. And I think it shows a confidence in Ben that he can put something like that out there and come through and show everybody that he can still get it done at a very high level.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think it was a political statement at all. I don't think there was anything political about it, but our governor made it political when he was asked a question, and they talked about it. I just think, just like Pony said, I think it was he wanted to show everyone. His intention was, hey, I'm back. My arm is healthy. I actually threw a legit NFL pass, and that's why he did it. That's why they started the video with, I'm not throwing a pass. I'm not shaving my beard until I could throw a pass to an NFL player, and that's what he did. It just happened when we were in the yellow phase, and everyone was upset about it because he went to the barber and got his hair cut by a friend. But I don't think it was meant to be political at all.
No, I don't either. I think it was just a message, as you guys suggest, that he's sending out, especially to the rest of the country. Not so much here, but around the country, because people have really made it sound like, his career's over, coming off surgery. I think he wanted to send a little message that I'm not done, and I'm not only that, I'm motivated. But there was the haircut issue, and that's something that got a lot of attention for no good reason other than people were mad about it. But Andrew, the one advice I would have given him is not to do that. Or if anything, give Ashley, his wife, the scissors. And even if you got the haircut at the other place, just make it look like you got it at home.
Well, look at me like right now. I look like a guy that's out of Godfather 3, which was not a great movie, by the way. I'm in that boat. I haven't gotten my hair cut in months, so I can totally get what you're saying. Roethlisberger right now, to me, is a driven player. And that's a dangerous thing as far as the rest of the AFC and the NFL is concerned. You've got somebody who's already a high-level athlete with something to prove. And 38 years old, you never know. His elbow should be better. Now, that doesn't mean that he's impenetrable and he can avoid injury to other parts of his body, Bob. But I think right now you got to trust him that he's going to be able to make plays with his right arm. I just hope that the Steelers don't put him in a position where they're asking him to try to make plays 40 times a game like they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, when I first saw that video, I was wondering where that field was. I didn't notice. I didn't really know exactly where it was at the time. I knew it was somewhere here because I saw a gecko in the background, and then I saw people cutting his hair, and I'm thinking, this isn't right. And I knew what was going to happen and what it was going to turn into, and it did just that. Maybe, like you said, Bob, someone should have told him, hey, maybe not put this in your video. How about you have your wife cut your hair or you shave your beard yourself? We don't want to do anything that might cause any kind of controversy at all.
Or just show up and the beer's gone. You know?
Yeah, or do that.
That's all you can do. All right, now let's talk about something else that happened with regard to a Steeler player, and Ben was part of this as well. Pete Prisco of CBS Sports, he always liked to ruffle the feathers, especially during a pandemic. There's not a lot of topics to talk about, but Rich, he came out with his top 100 NFL players, and on that list, T.J. Watt is the highest-ranked Steeler at 16, Cam Hayward, 33. You also had Bud Dupree in the 60 slot, along with Juju Smith-Schuster, but on that list, no mention of Ben Roethlisberger and no mention of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Rich, I want to get your take. Why? Was he trying to just stoke people's nerves? What was he doing?
I don't know. That was the biggest mystery to me. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick should be in between Cam Hayward and TJ Watt somewhere. I mean, you got guys like Kevin Byard and Justin Simmons on this list, free safeties that we don't even know or hear of. Ty Matthew is the top free safety on the list, or top safety on the list, period, and he's 34th, right? So Minkah Fitzpatrick is arguably the best safety in the NFL, period, right? And you would think he should be in the top 50. He was in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. He should be up there somewhere. I don't understand why he did that. Maybe it was to create some kind of conversation, but it just seems like he missed it. Totally missed this one at all. Fitzpatrick changed the Steelers' defense.
Well, right. I mean, they had pressure from TJ Watt in 2018, Richie, and the defense didn't stop people the way they did in 2019. Minkah was a total game changer and team changer for the Steelers. I'm very confused on this one, Bob, because usually when somebody in the national media comes out and is very critical of the Steelers and makes a big mistake like Prisco, the local Steelers media rips the guy. And I don't see that. I mean, is Pete Prisco in with the Ron Cooks and Gene Colliers of the world? Why aren't there columns being written ripping Pete Prisco? I'm very confused here. I don't know if Pete Prisco has a good relationship with Steelers media, but I know if Adam Shine said something like this, or heaven forbid I made a point that he wasn't in the top 100, they would be out with their pitchforks and flames, ready to light me on fire for a take like this. So I don't know if Prisco has brainwashed people into respecting him as a football guy, but come on. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick is at worst a top 30 player, and if you can put A.J. Green on this list, which Prisco did without playing a game last year, I don't understand how Ben Roethlisberger isn't listed at all in the top 100.
You made my point there. I was going to bring that up with A.J. Green. When I saw that, it was even Juju Smith-Schuster. If you're going to tell me that Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be in the top 100, because he didn't deserve to be there after last season, he was 2 years ago. But then, Rich, you would have told me that, well, Ben Roethlisberger has to deliver the football. And if Juju is to have a good year, then Ben Roethlisberger will have a good year. Why isn't he in the top 100 either?
That's another good question. And, Andrew, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about Andrew Shine on this show tonight, but Adam Shine. Adam Shine.
On, he's your buddy, Rich.
I forgot his name. I don't think we're allowed to talk about him. That's the point I was trying to make. But, yeah, Ben Roethlisberger is another head-scratcher here, right? Why wasn't he on it? Do you think he would have been on it last year? This is motivation. You talked about guys coming out. Well, Minkah came out, Cam Hayward came out, and they both ripped Pete Prisco for this list. Now, okay, I don't know if I want to defend Prisco at all, but I would imagine from outside looking in, maybe his excuse was it's too hard to compile a list of the best 100 players. But I think I would do a better job than him, and he's a national guy that covers the entire NFL. I cover just the Steelers, but I think I could do a better job than him.
Well, if you watched the Steelers last year and you watched all 16 games, you would not walk away with the opinion, watching their defense, that Bud Dupree was a better player than Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to use this as an opportunity to build somebody up, to tear somebody down in Bud. But not one person I've ever talked to who's related to the Steelers has told me that Bud was more important to the Steelers than Minkah Fitzpatrick, and yet Bud was ranked in the 60s and Fitzpatrick wasn't ranked at all.
Can I say looking for attention as the reason for this kind of stuff? And that's fine. I mean, that's where we are right now. There's not a lot to go on. So if you throw something out like that, you get a lot of play. Pete Prisco's a smart man, and he knows that. So I get it. And that's just the way it is. Meantime, we have more coming up. I'm going to talk about a new NFL vote coming up that could determine the elimination of the onside kick. That's next. But also, I want to talk about exciting when a team moves into a new building. We've seen that a lot with sports teams, and it's certainly true when the team at number 1 Cochran Hyundai South Hills and their spacious new facility they moved into, even though they only moved less than a mile up the street. Right now, for a limited time, get special grand opening offers in both sales and service. It's the new number 1 Cochran Hyundai South Hills, now conveniently located at 3220 West Liberty Avenue. And when we come back, 4th and 15. That's the decision, and that's the vote. We'll talk about it when we continue here on the number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown. The number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by number 1 Cochran. Go one better.
And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.